Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're back in War Thunder and we're having a look at a new Datamine. This is from the main man, Mike 10D, and as I say quite a lot of times, Mike 10D I believe has a Patreon, he also has a PayPal, and since he does some great work for the War Thunder community, I always think it is right to, if you really, are thankful for what he does, why not support him in some way if you can. Anyway, what we're going to do is have a look at this post. There will be a link in the description to the post itself if you want to have a look at it. And what we're going to do is go through what it means and all the vehicles on it. So the first thing to understand is that the 1st of November is coming. The 1st of November is the anniversary sale for War Thunder, or the anniversary, I should say, of War Thunder. Every year they have a bunch of discounts, whether it is for talismans, premium time, certain vehicles, cost of SL for certain things. All of these things are able to get discounted, and you yourself are going to be able to, pay normally half price for stuff, which is great. On top of this, sometimes they give away vehicles. The 5-year anniversary last year, they gave away the I-29 and the M8 Greyhound. You only needed to win 5 battles for ground and 5 battles for air, respectively. So because of this, I'm hoping that this year, around the 1st, we'll have a similar sort of deal where, you have all these discounts, you have a few gift vehicles, so on and so forth. Now, it looks like here is a preliminary list of some upcoming sales that is going to happen. Now, all of these machines are either new, or they are machines which have been given away, not given away, but sold earlier on, whether it was through bundles or whether it was through, in the game. Mainly bundles when it comes to this stuff. But the main thing is that now, in an upcoming sale, which I personally believe is going to be the anniversary sale, you are going to be able to get these vehicles with GE. And for me, that is great. It means that if you have some extra GE, if you, maybe got some through doing the Gaijin coin stuff and then transfer it over to GE, that personally means that you can pick up some of these vehicles technically for free through, stuff like the Gaijin market and working through that. As it says here, GE prices listed as they have been updated and are no longer set as gift vehicles. So these are set as gift vehicles anymore, and these GE prices have not been adjusted but are no longer gift vehicles. They were also originally bundle-only vehicles. These will be visible in the tech tree along with their GE prices. So what is interesting is these are going to be listed like normal premiums. I'll give you an example. They'll be listed if you go to, let's say, the German tech tree for the fleets, they'll be listed like these, the Type M, the LS4, or if we go to the aviation, something like the Wellington, or the IL-2, or the Yak-1B, as you can see in the tech tree. Now, the interesting thing is, are these just going to be for a sale, or will they be here for an extended period of time? That is the question that we must ask ourselves. Whatever happens, these are coming, though, and we are going to be able to pay some GE for them. Now, for all of the vehicles that you see here, I will go through them and what they are. And I do have some of them, not all of them, so we're going to have to rely on pictures and also some notes that I've got from some members of the Discord, the TEC Hub. If you want to join the TEC Hub, there is a link in the description. We are, at this moment in time, doing a giveaway for Men of War Assault Squad 2, which was provided graciously by the publishers of Men of War Assault Squad 2 in order to promote their new DLC, which is coming out right now. So thank you to them. And if you want to join, link is in the description. So, let's get into it. BE6. What is this machine? Well, it's a Soviet one, and unfortunately, I don't have access to it. This is what the machine looks like. It is a boat plane, is the best way I can put it. It does have capabilities of landing on the water. It also has capabilities of carrying bombs and is armed with a decent armament. One of the things to understand, if we look at the list here, the BE6, I didn't actually have a look at its rank or its BR. I probably should have done that. But the rank and BR of it, actually, you know what? I'm going to do that real quick for you. I apologize for this, but sometimes you've got to do things a little bit haphazardly. So if we go here, and then here, And then we go to VC chat and scroll up a little bit. Here we go. So Dog for Life posted the BE6 is a 5.0 aircraft. I'm sure it's either a rank 3 or a rank 4. And what that means is it will be able to research rank 4 and all of below. And if it's rank 2, which I highly doubt it is at 5.0, it will be able to research rank 3 and all of below very effectively. What you're getting out of this machine is quite a slow bomber. It doesn't have a lot of speed bias, but it does have access to 2 dual 23s. The first set of 23s are on the front, the second set are on the back, I believe. And with this said, what you have from this machine is something that can defend itself, even though it's quite slow, and has some pretty good bomb loads. 8 250 kilos, 2 torpedoes, 8 500 kilos, or 2 1500 kilos. The only problem with it, as I said, is it's slow, and getting to a base can be quite hard if people see you. You normally face German aircraft, a lot of them climb hard, so it can put you in a scenario where you are left where you are not able to get to bases with it, so you won't get as much RP as you may want. Like the Ju-288C right now, one of the new aircraft which was added for the Germans, this machine here. A lot of people have found really good because it can get to bases and the airfields without really being obstructive because it's really fast. Well, the BE6 doesn't have this by its side. A review for this will be coming out in the next few days. So that's the first vehicle. I would probably say it's the weakest out of the bunch, but that's, my personal opinion. It's also quite expensive. The next one is the Panzer 470 LA. As you can see here, it is Panzer 470, and we already have one in the standard tech tree. It is slightly different though, I believe it's on a different chassis. This is the one in the tech tree. You have this Panzer 470, and then the one which is being given out, it's a premium version, Panzer 4L70A. Now, the difference is this is a rank 3 battle rating 5.0 vehicle, and this is a rank 3 battle rating 5.3 vehicle, so it's slightly different, and that is because the Panzer 470V has, I believe, a different chassis and also has a little bit of extra armor on the front. It may also have a slightly different engine, but the way that this 470 is going to work is very similar to the one in the tech tree. Mainly, the thing that you're paying for here is the decent armor on the front of it. The armor is not too bad, as long as people don't know where to shoot it, and the gun itself around the 5.0 bracket is brilliant. It also means that you don't get up-tiered into the 6.7 area, which is a problem for a lot of vehicles which are around 5.7 and so on. If you look at the 5.0 bracket though, unfortunately for the Germans, there isn't really a lot you can run it with apart from the KV-1B, which is still a good vehicle. It's not as good as it used to be, but just understand that that is something you may run into. You might have to use it as your top tier vehicle or use it as a vehicle which isn't going to be at its BR, but it has to be up-tiered. When it comes to up-tiering, I don't think tank destroyers generally do well in an up-tier. There are only a few which do, and unfortunately this one isn't one of them. The next vehicle is the Grant. Now, what is interesting about the Grant in War Thunder is that there's actually two of them, if you didn't know. You have the Grant 1 for the British, which is right here. It has the tricolour disruptive pattern, also has access to a winter camouflage, and also has access to the standard camouflage, which is a beautiful red colour. But the one that they are actually putting to be bought in the sale is the Grant 1 for the Americans, which is this machine. So they are exactly the same machines, but one is for Britain, one is for America. The only difference really is the camouflages that each of them hold. And what you're getting is, if you've never played the M3 Lee, you're getting 2 guns on it. It's actually a good trainer for people who want to use multi-turreted machines later on. And also a way of learning about muzzle velocity. Because the 37mm, you're looking at 883 meters per second. For the 75, you're looking at more around 588 or 488 if you decide to use the HE. You also have access to smoke shells with the 75, which is nice. But the main thing that you're getting out of this is an idea that you don't have a lot of armor. You have a decent amount of mobility, and you have a gun which is designed to do a lot of damage, then you have a gun which is designed to penetrate. So overall, it is quite a nifty, useful vehicle, even though it may not seem it. It is absolutely giant though, and with the standard skin, it's very, very easy to spot it on the battlefield. Overall, definitely not the best vehicle at 2.7, but if you compare it to what America has at 2.7, which is, once again, only the M3 Lee, where the only real difference is the way the turret is, and also this 30 cal on the top here, it's another one of those vehicles you're either going to have to use as a top tier vehicle by itself, unless you have the M8A1, of course, or you're going to have to run it with something like a 105 and use it as a backup vehicle. I think for the backup vehicle idea, it works well, because it can take a lot of shots. It is hard to one-shot it, but don't rely on the armor. But rely on the guns. The guns themselves are pretty good, just not in an up tier. Overall, I enjoy the vehicle, but I would definitely say it's not going to be a vehicle that is going to be the best for people to grind. The next one is, of course, the Firefly. Now, I'm a little bit confused by this, because obviously just saying the Firefly doesn't really make a ton of sense, because we already have, there's many vehicles called Firefly, but I believe what it's talking about is the Sherman Firefly, the Scorpion Premium, which we have for the British. When the British were released, they did a pack, which had a rank 1, 2, 3, and 4 vehicle, I believe. It had the Black Prince, Scorpion, then it had something else here, and then it had like an A13. And what that meant was you got an exact copy of the Sherman Firefly, which you see right here. Now, the only difference is that the Sherman Firefly in the tree does not have the same skin, as you can see, as this. I believe this is a Polish Firefly, of all things. Now, to pick up for 4,000 GE, if we're looking at how much that actually is, 4,000 GE is around about $20 for this machine. So obviously it is completely up to you if what you value your money as, but what you're getting is a vehicle which is a rank 3 British one. The AP does do a lot of damage, but the gun is not exactly what I would call stabilized. You don't have a lot of space in the turret. Once the turret is knocked, it's not the best. Obviously you die, and the fact that it takes you a while to get to position, and also the gun isn't, as I said, that stable, it can be kind of annoying. If you play it as a defensive tank though, works increasingly well. Works really, really well as one of them. The 17 pounder will never have any issue with penning anything at 4.7 as well, even in a max up tier. And as you can see, you have up to 170 millimeters of penetration. The reason why I take the shot Mark 6 is I have literally no idea. I think it's just reset itself. Normally I would take the shot Mark 8. But yeah, it's a good vehicle, and at 4.7 you do have quite an interesting lineup for the British. You have the Churchill Mark 7, which is good. Avenger, not so good, but once again has that 17 pounder. You can also run the Crusader AA Mark 1 alongside of it. So it's the first one that we've seen which has a competent lineup that you can run with it. Overall, I would say it's a good pickup if you don't have, the Excelsior or the AC4. Remember, if it's a rank 3 vehicle, it'll be able to research one rank above it really well, and every rank below it. The next one is the AMX 13 SS11, or 1375 SS11, 7,480 GE. And the real reason why this one's more expensive than the others is because this is a 6.7 rank 4 machine. This was actually one of the tanks which was available for you to purchase if you wanted access to the French closed beta for ground forces, and pretty much it is an AMX 1375 that you see in the tree here, or the AMX 13, and then it has the SS11 missiles on top of it. So they are keyboard controlled on this machine. The turret itself is very bouncy. When this tank came out, a lot of people don't like this tank, and I understand why they don't like it, because they use it they try and use it as an offensive machine. The AMX-13 SS-11 is not an offensive machine. It is a scouting vehicle first, with the ability to deal with extra armor when required. The best way to play this is a support for your team. So what that means is, at the start of the battle, you find an area, you sit in it, you wait, which overlooks, the major parts of a battle. You scout anything that you see. After about 10 minutes, once the battle is quietened down, you have two positions. If you are losing the battle, after you've scouted everything, you take a much more defensive position and use your missiles to fire into an area that, will create a lot of ruckus. Or, if you are winning the battle, as the AMX-13 SS-11 on the team, then what you do is you push aggressively, you get around the sides of stuff, use the 75, and if that doesn't work, you use the SS-11s. I believe a lot of people misuse this thing, and it's because of the SS-11s on top. If you want some stats, the Peacott's 51P, which should be the round that you use every time, has a penetration of 180 millimeters and also a penetration at 1,000 meters of 150. So it's pretty good. It's also an autoloader, and I believe it's a 6 clip. I'll just check for you. Let's have a look. Yep, you have 6, so 12 overall, and then it has to obviously be loaded with these rounds here. And then you have the SS-11s on top as well, and these SS-11s, they are incredibly slow through the air, 150 meters per second, so they're going to take a long time to get to the target, but once they get to the target, they're going to be able to penetrate, which is obviously nice. But you don't really want to use these unless you're forced to, or you're in a position where you know nobody's going to attack you. The reason for this is, once you use them, and you start using your keyboard to get them to the target or your controller or whatever, you cannot move your tank. So it's as simple as that. You need to make sure that you're in a position where you can't get shot and you are shooting the enemy. I think it's an okay machine. And at 6.7, actually no, personally I think it's a good machine for the general player, maybe not the best, maybe very average. At 6.7 now, you have the Char 25T, you have the Lorraine 40T, you have the AMX-13 SS-11, amazing lineup for 6.7. The only issue is you don't really have the planes to back it up. You have 6.0 and 6.3 for the AD4 and the F8 F1B. They are very much competent. If you're looking for just a good scout, then just get the Char 25T and then the AMX 1390, mainly the Char 25T. It's a lot easier to use for the general person. But if you want something with a bit of spice and you want to grind through the French tree, I would say the MX-13 is good. You've just got to play it like a scout and not like a medium tank. The next one is the Type 97 Chi-Ha 12cm. Now, if you don't know what this machine is, there it is. It is the Chub gun, as we used to call it. 120mm naval gun plonked on a Chi-Ha Type 97 chassis. Now, if you want to know the stats for this gun, it is a 120mm, I believe, it should be over here. Yes, there we go. 120mm, and then it has muzzle velocity of 290 meters per second. It has a pen of 31 millimeters. So not the best. It is at 1.7 though, and it is a rank 2. So what you're going to be doing with this is trying to overmatch people's armor with the mechanic of overmatching. If you don't know what that is, please have a look at it. It's something that a lot of people forget about. Overall, it isn't the best tank. The reason for this is the reload is not good, the armor is not good, but it is an iconic tank for the Japanese, and that's why I personally am thinking of picking it up, especially if it's only 1000 GE. For me, the two picks that I would go for, if it was just me, is the Chi-Ha and then the Panzer 470 LA. But if I'm talking about, maybe a person who is looking at all of these and just working out which ones would be the best, well, the AMX 1375, if you're scout-minded, If you're not scout-minded, the BE6 and the Firefly are probably the ones you're going to get the most use out of as a general player. The next one is the HS129B2. This is an interesting one. So this is the German version. We already have this version in the game, but it's for the German tree. It's the B2 Premium. Now, I don't have the B2 Premium, but what I do have is the B2 and the standard tree. And the B2 is, this one, is an exact copy of the one that you get in the Premium tree. So what you get on it, without load, you get two 20mm MG151s, two 7.92 MG17s. Then with load, you get a 30mm MK103, so the high velocity 30 for the Germans, one 37mm or 450 kilos. For me, this is a very versatile machine. It can do a lot of different things. The issue is it does all of those things absolutely atrociously. The issue with it is the engines. The engine's 590 horsepower apiece. It's hard to keep this thing in the air. If you want to use this thing effectively in a battle, because remember, this is going to be an Italian version of this plane as a premium, the best thing to do is to do it in tanks and use it in tanks. You know what the problem is for Italy right now? They have no tanks, so you're going to be limited to doing stuff in aerialistic, so taking the 30mm and popping, because the 30mm with armored targets, it pens 95, so you can pop stuff like medium tanks and heavy tanks if you want to grind that way. I think there are better options though. For the Italians, if we have a look at the premiums that are available, you have the Spitfire Mark 5B Trop, IAR81C, G55S right now. If you have a look at the HS129B2, it's rank 3, battle rating 3.3. This is rank 3, battle rating 3.3. If it's between the two, and this one's 1300 GE, and the Duck is 1450. Unless there is something special about this plane for the Italians, maybe you get something slightly different. Instead, just pick up this. The Spitfire Mark 5B Trop is not the best Spitfire on the market, but it is a premium for the Italians, and it also has the Hispanos, which are lovely on it. It does have a few issues when it comes to its energy retention, especially compared to the Mark 2B and also the Mark 9, but overall, it is still a good aircraft, especially compared to the Duck. I do not think the Duck would be a good pickup personally. Then we have some new stuff which is in the files. Now, this could be for the festive event, or this could be for the anniversary, or this could be for something else. And what it really reminds me of is something that happened last year. I think it was last year for the festive event. There was an aircraft which was added to the game, and this aircraft was a British attacker. And by attacker, I mean pseudo-heavy fighter. Where are you, my beauty? The Whirlwind Mark One was added. Now, the Whirlwind Mark One suffers from many things. First of all, it's quite an early war aircraft, and at a battle rating that it was at, remember, it was around 5 when it was released. It was going up against 1945 aircraft. It could not dive as well as them. It has Hispano Mark 1s in it, and overall, the only thing that kept it even semi in the battle was the fact that it had an air spawn, and it was able to maybe take out a bomber with its 240 rounds and then disappear. Then, what they did was they added the the P9, I should say, which was basically a Mark II. The Whirlwind P9 in-game is a Mark II. The difference is the way that the cannons are situated, and that means that they have more ammo. Also, it had bomb racks, it didn't have bomb racks, which was very odd, since the Mark II was given bomb racks. And what they did was they made the P9, and then they made the Mark I, the Mark II, by adding the bomb racks to it. So, very confusing, but first of all, the Whirlwind Mark I came first, then the Whirlwind P9 came, then the Whirlwind with bomb racks came. So that is how all of that went down. We are getting something similar in the terms of the Westland Welkin. Now, if you don't know what the Westland Welkin is, the Westland Welkin was produced in 1945 It was, I suppose you could put it in the same league as stuff like the Bearcat and stuff like the Tiger Cat, where I believe the Bearcat was in a squadron before the war ended. But basically, they came as the next proteges which were going to annihilate the Germans and the Japanese if they decided to hold on. Now, because they didn't hold on, stuff like the Westland Welkin kind of became pretty pointless, because there was no war for them to fight in. So instead, they just became insane machines, which unfortunately were never able to spread their wings properly on the battlefield. The Welkin, there was about 75 of them made. I think there was actually a few more than 75, but around about that number. And what is the best way of describing this thing? Well, I think Rocker in the Discord actually described it the best. These are pictures of it in game. As it says, Mark One, Mark One late. I'm not exactly sure the difference between these two. They look incredibly similar to me, but this is it in game. The way that Rocker described it, I thought was brilliant. So, when you look at the Germans, you have the Focke-Wulf Ds, let's say the D12, right? So this is what it looks like. Now, how would you want to make a high-altitude version of the D12? It's already got the UMO 213E1 in it. Well, you create the TAR 152H1. As you can see, longer wings and the same engine. Basically, this flight pattern that you can see here, or this way of building an aircraft, suits itself much more for high altitude performance over something like the Focke-Wulf. Well, let's have a look at some interesting things. If you look at the Hornet or the Mosquito, but we'll just use a Hornet for this example, this machine here, you can see in general its wings are quite short, and also it has access to the Rolls-Royce Merlin 130s. Now, if you compare this to the wingspan of the Welkin, then you can see what is interesting about it. The fact that it has insane wingspan on it. And this means that it would be a high-altitude fighter. It is described as a high-altitude interceptor, even a stratosphere aircraft, which is kind of funny. And it has two Rolls-Royce Merlin 76-77 liquid-cooled piston engines, 1,233 horsepower in it. If you compare that to the Hornet ones, it's very similar with the amount of power, just a little bit less, but as I said, this was more tuned for a high altitude performance. It also had access to 4 Hispanos because of the time period of 1945-46. I'm guessing it used Mark V Hispanos, so look forward to that, all pretty much centrally mounted. And with that said, I actually had a look at what other vehicles use these engines, just to try and get a picture of it. And the first one that came up was the de Havilland Mosquito PR Mark 16. The PR stands for Photo Reconnaissance. You can see here that instead of the guns nose mounted, it has a nice little clear area for photographs and stuff like that to be taken right there. And then the Spitfire PR Mark 10 also used this engine, which once again was a photo reconnaissance machine, which is just kind of interesting. But yeah, so we're getting the Mark 1 and then the Mark 1 late. That to me would signal something very much similar to how we have the two Whirlwinds in game, where we're going to get a standard tree version and a premium version. Whether this is going to come with a gift vehicle tag on November the 1st, or whether this is going to come in the festive event or in the event for, well, let's just say just put it in the tree in the next patch. I'm looking forward to it. Getting these twin-engined heavy fighters from the British has been really fun. It is definitely hit and miss when you have a look at a lot of the designs, but overall it is still a lot of fun. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.